We'd like to welcome you to BeMoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth. We're here with Dr. Regina Wells Clark at the Next Act Theater in Pikesville, Black-owned theater, and we're going to speak with this Baltimore County Delta Sigma Theta Foundation. What's your title?
Baltimore County Delta Foundation.
Delta Foundation.
I'm a member. And I was on the committee to organize this event.
And we're here regarding the 6888. Mm-hmm. And for those who may not know, who were the 6888?
The 6888 was an all-female, mostly black unit in the Army during World War II. They were sent to France to clean up a 2-year backlog of mail. They were given a year to do it. They did it in 3 months.
And it's a piece of history that is often overlooked or not celebrated enough, but with more and more African Americans, black people in media and film, this story has come out. How significant is that? Why is it important to you?
It is very significant. One thing I do want to mention is that this year, Governor Wes Moore declared March 9th 6888 Day in Maryland. So, back on March 9th of this year, the Baltimore County Delta Foundation held an event to celebrate the 6888. And now today, we're here to celebrate Tyler Perry's documentary on this group of women who I would say most people have not heard about. And so we're very happy to bring this out to the public. I was actually able to meet one of the 6888 members. She passed away last year, but it's our history and people need to know about it.
And this was World War II?
World War II.
Wow. Mm-hmm. All that time.
All that time. Another hidden figure story. People know about that now. But yes, Tyler Perry has worked a long time to bring this movie out, and it is here. So it's being pre-screened here today, and it will hit Netflix later in the month.
It's beautiful. For those who may not know, let's put it this way. Mm-hmm. Why did you join the Deltas?
Well, you mean the foundation who's...
The sorority.
The sorority. Oh, okay. The sorority. Public service. I guess it was kind of ingrained in me. My mother was a Delta. My father was an Omega. But I was always around strong Delta women. I saw the projects that they did in the community and nationally. And it wasn't just a sorority that I would pledge in college and then forget about it. It's a lifelong commitment.
Would you recommend young women join today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are a number of sororities and fraternities out there. There's one to fit your needs and wants, so take a look.
Good deal. Any final thoughts?
No, just happy that this movie has come out and happy to be a part of it. So come see it.
Okay. Young lady, what's your name?
My name is Sharon Gamble, and
Okay.
I'm a member of the Baltimore County Delta Foundation, as well as a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the Baltimore County Alumni Chapter.
And why is this 6888 movie so important to you?
Well,
It's a documentary?
Yes, it's a documentary, because I think it's important for people to know our history and the significant impact that women have made, and to know that they were African American mostly and did what they did in record time. It is encouraged that everyone see this documentary so that you can become more educated and well informed.
Okay. And we have a soldier we're going to talk to next?
Liz is someone that we would like you to talk to.
Okay. I don't call it Liz. What's your...
And then you have Cheryl.
Sergeant?
And you have Cheryl.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? You got two phones. Which one I look at?
Both of them.
Oh, okay.
So you're a sergeant, right?
Master Sergeant.
Master Sergeant, forgive me. Master Sergeant Helm Frazier.
Yes.
Top of the day to you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
What's the significance of this documentary to you, the 6888?
Well, it's a featured film. That's the significance of it. We actually started in January 2018 with building a monument.
Where?
A man by the name of Commander Carlton Philpott, U.S. Navy retired, was the project lead on this, and he is behind some of the most iconic black monuments there at Buffalo Soldier Park at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas.
Okay.
Many people know the Buffalo Soldier and Rider. It is a black print. That is a actual monument that was modeled. That's the monument that is at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and that was the first one in Buffalo Soldier Commemorative Park. In this park, along with that monument, the Buffalo Soldier and Rider, is several other monuments. Henry Flipper, the first African American to graduate from West Point.
Yes.
General Grissom, he was the first and only white commander of the 9th and 10th Regiment, Buffalo Soldier Regiment, there at when it was Camp Leavenworth. You have the 555th, the all-black parachute unit, nicknamed Triple Nickel, and they were out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. You have, of course, the late Colin Powell, General Colin Powell. We all know his significance to not only history, but to black history. And along came the 688. So we say the men are in good company now because the 688 has arrived. This monument has the bust of the commander on top of it, which is Major Charity Adams. On back of the monument by state is listed the 855 women that was assigned to the 688 Central Postal Directory Battalion. It was Mr. Philpott's dream to build this monument, to dedicate it to this unit, because these women, if you are a military person, you know that mail was the third most important thing to get. Getting paid was first, and food and shelter was second, and then mail. Because mail could make a bad day for a little while a good day.
Morale.
Now, imagine World War II, when there was no social media,
No email, no cell
no
phones.
none of that. Okay, the only way that you connected with your family was through a letter or a card. I know, like when I was in the service, my mother sent me boxes with cakes and cookies and candy. Okay, so imagine in World War II not getting any mail for a long period of time. It could be 4 months, 6 months. There was a war going on, and so service members were moving multiple times. And so there was this backlog of mail building up, and there were other mail units in the European Theater Command, but they just could not keep up with
The demand.
the demand of mail. Well, any service member will tell you when they don't get any mail to hear from their family members, their morale goes down. It's an automatic, because you are now concerned about, well, what's going on at home. So then you're not concentrating on the mission. And so because service members started to complain to leadership, Army leadership, something had to be done. And so at that time, the orders went out. In fact, Charity Adams was a captain. She had not gotten promoted to major yet. She got her orders, they were sealed, and she was told not to open them until you get in the air, okay? Because she didn't know where she was going, okay? Her, along with her battalion executive officer, Captain Abby Noel Campbell, was on this plane, and finally, I guess about halfway through the Atlantic, she opened them. And it was, okay, mail, that's what we're doing, mail? Because at that time, she did not understand the significance of mail, okay? And so they get to Birmingham, England, was their first assignment, and then find out that, oh, there's been a backlog for over 2 years in aircraft hangars. So I when I'm explaining that, I tell people, I said, think about an aircraft hangar, just one, stuffed with letters, boxes, cards, from the floor to the ceiling. Now multiply that 10 times. Over 2 years, and if you have boxes that's got cakes and cookies and food in them, what will happen? It'll start to rot. Those little creepy mice will start to come. And it was a war going on. And so here, now Major Adams had to come up with a plan to reduce this backlog in 6 months. Now, Army leaders didn't give them 6 months because they thought, oh, okay, that's enough time. No. They gave them 6 months because they thought they were going to fail. And let me tell you something. If you give a job to a black woman, she gonna get it done. Okay?
Amen.
And so, this young major, because she was only 26, imagine, 26.
With all this weight
Okay?
on you,
With
all
all
this
of
pressure.
this weight on your shoulder. She came up with a plan. Okay, we've got to reduce this backlog in 6 months. So I need to get my unit working 7 days a week, 3 shifts,
Round the clock.
around the clock. So this was a battalion. So a battalion is consisted of over 855 personnel. So she had a third working the mail. They were the mail people. A third was always sleeping because they had just come off a shift. And a third that was doing Army stuff because they were still in the
Soldiers.
service. They were still soldiers. Also, because this was a unit of multi-ethnic, predominantly black women, it was also like a showcase because they're in Birmingham, England, and a lot of white people had never seen a black
people.
woman. Okay, and cruelty from the white soldiers was saying, oh yeah, the WACs have to go back to their unit before 12 midnight because after 12 midnight they grow tails.
My daddy told me about that.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Okay, we a service member and you're spreading a lie like that. So they also had to contend with that.
Racism.
And racism, okay? And everyone was always coming to see this black WAC unit, just to see them, okay?
Are you saying whack?
WAC. So it is the Women's Army Corps,
Okay.
okay? And so Charity Adams, Major Adams, put her girls, that's what she referred to them as, to work. And they reduced this backlog of mail in 3 months. Now, they not only had to contend with the mail that was wet, unreadable, smelly, but they also had to contend with names. How many Robert Smiths are there in the world? How many Joe Jones are there in the world?
You have no databases, no
Okay.
Google.
How
or
many
anything
James
like
Browns are there in the world? I can think of like 10 right now.
Right.
Okay. Now, on top of that, service members moving literally every week.
that? Wow.
And every time, service members will tell you, every time you move, you have to fill out a locator card. It's like a 3x5 card, just like you fill out at the post office when you want them to hold your mail or do a change of address. Okay, in the military, they're called locator cards. So every time you move, you have to fill out a locator card, which causes what? Duplication. Oh, okay, well, Jimmy Jones was here in Germany, Hanau, Germany, this week. Next week, he's up north someplace. So they also had to contend with that. And this is 1945, World War II. What is the education level of most people? Non-high school graduates. So if I'm at home called Aunt, A-N-T, then that's how they're gonna address the envelope. Aunt Helm Fraser, U.S. Army, Germany. So they also had to figure out, well, just who is this Aunt person? or Buster Jones. Who is that? So they had to figure out that too, match it with the locator card, then find out where this service member was. There were also difficult times. They faced racism. They lost 3 of their members in a Jeep accident, and Army leadership would not send those 3 back to the United States
Why?
because they were black women.
Wow.
Okay, because they were black. Those 3 women are buried at the American Cemetery in Normandy, France. In that cemetery, there are over 9,000 buried there. There are 4 women buried in this cemetery. 1 was a Red Cross worker. The other 3 were from the 6888 Central Coastal Directory Battalion, and we remember them.
And France gave black soldiers more love than the U.S., is my understanding.
Yes, because you were overseas. I had the fortunate pleasure to have a great relationship with some of the living 6888 members, including the one that the movie is about, and that was Corporal Lena Delicott Bell King. Mrs. King died January 17, 2024 at the age of 100. She was 9 days from her 101st
How does it feel
birthday.
to be around such history? What does it
Now-
do to you? Yeah.
It when people ask me, what's the gift, and I tell them that's the gift
Yeah.
that I got firsthand of what they went through. Okay, Mrs. King and I spent a lot of mornings when I was out there visiting her in Las Vegas, talking about not only the 6888, but other things that she had done. I also got to know the late PFC Dolores L. Rudock. She lived here in Mount Rainier, Maryland, and she is buried at the Baltimore National Cemetery.
What would they say to young people today? Young
That-
black people today?
That's a great story. I mean, that's a great question because Ms. Rudock was always asked that question. And she would say, know your history. Go and find out about it if you don't know it. Mrs. King would say, I want you all to know that what we did was important too, even though we did not have guns.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we were not in a field environment, but we did the mail.
Yeah.
And the mail was just as important.
As the bullets, in many ways.
These women,
Yeah.
all of the living ones, there are 2 living members. Mrs. Fanny Griffith McClendon out in Mesa, Arizona. She's 104. And the youngest is Mrs. Anna Wilson Roberts. She is 100 and she lives up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. These women were never mad black women.
They were never mad
They were never mad.
or bitter,
They were never bitter. They
even
were
though they
very
had
proud.
reason to be.
Well, I will tell you what Miss Rudock told me one time about that. She said there is the Army standard, and then there was Major Adams standard. And so whose standard did they go by? They went by Major Adams. Why? Number 1, she was a black woman. And she knew that they had to be more, do more than anybody else because there was always somebody challenging them. And that is what they did. And not only did they do it in Birmingham, England, but because leadership, I believe, did not think that they had actually did this mission in 3 months, they gave them orders to France, to reown France. Same mission in 6 months, and guess what 6888 did? Delivered, and again in 3 months. And when it was time to go home, the war was over. The 6888 were some of the last women to leave. A lot of them went to Fort Dix, New Jersey, right up here.
Did they get a parade?
No parade.
What?
No award. They just said, okay, you can stay in the Army. You can go to another service like Mrs. McClendon did. She went to the Air Force. Or here's your discharge papers. Okay? And a lot of them did get out. because they wanted to use their GI Bill
To go to
go
school.
back to school. They got married, they raised kids, okay, sent their kids to school, okay. There were some that stayed in. Mrs. McClendon transferred to the Air Force, stayed in the Air Force for 20 years, and she is Major Fannie Griffith McClendon, retired.
Does any of this inspire young black people to join the military today?
I hope it does. Because if nothing else, you learn discipline. I was talking with a young lady a couple days ago, and I said, if nothing else, you're going to come out a better person than you went in. Okay, if nothing else. And she said she believed that. Okay, especially now because she's looking at the 6888. I also hope that this will also show young black women that when you put your mind to do something, you can do it. You're gonna have to overcome some stuff. You're gonna have to fight through some stuff, but in the end, you will come through it.
Do you think the military is better today than it was then for black people?
Oh yeah.
For women?
Yeah, because women now, I know in the Army, women now can go into any job, occupation there is. When I was in, there was still that restriction for women going into the infantry, going into the Rangers, going into the Special Forces, but now women now have that opportunity. And women in officer rank. We had a couple of years ago the first black 4-star woman. She was in the Navy, Rear Admiral Michelle Howard. She was the first African American woman to become a 4-star.
I gotta ask about sexual harassment. Has that improved the conditions for women?
I'm retired, so I've been retired since 2006, and I'm gonna say I'm sure that it has improved, but there still needs to be improvement.
Good deal. Any final thoughts, Master Sergeant? And thank you for that history. I feel edified. I think our viewers will be more edified as well.
My final thought is to everybody out there, tell the story of the 6888 Central Postal Directory Battalion and let the generations know that the 6888 Central Postal Directory Battalion also guaranteed. Thank you.
Thank you for your service again. Keep watching BeMoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover
That's for you.
the truth. God bless you.